Hello, everyone. I believe we're live now. Welcome to our live stream event called Salesforce 2021 Predictions and Giveaway. So my name is Ben McCarthy. I'm founder of selves.ben.com, and I'm delighted to be able to partner with Skuid for our holiday season giveaway. So 2020 has been tough for a lot of people, and we thought it'd be nice to bring some joy by giving away prizes and putting on some awesome live thought leadership live stream events, especially as so many of us has missed out on the all-important swag from Salesforce events. So that giveaway is, hoping to bring some joy back for this holiday season. So we've already given away a year's supply of Bombas socks, some Warby Parker sunglasses, a whiskey appreciation crate, as well as the gift of a heifer to a family in poverty. But we've saved the best prize till last, and we'll be announcing the winner of a pair of an all singing, all dancing Bose wireless headphones at the end of this session. So stay tuned. Now, without further ado, let's get today's session kicked off. So I'm delighted to be able to host today's panel on Salesforce predictions for 2021 and what life is going to be like going forward. So if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that our working world has changed forever. And I'm looking forward to hear our panelists' thoughts on how it's going to change. So let's get them introduced. So let's start off with Matt. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Brown. I'm a product manager here at Skuid. Skuid is a low-code, no-code front-end development toolkit for Salesforce. And I'm really, really excited to be here with you all. Love Salesforce Ben, what you guys do. And really excited about doing this in the holiday season and everything.
Thanks for being here, Matt. And Steph, how about yourself?
Hi, thank you, Ben. My name is Stephanie Herrera, and I'm the Global VP for Computer Futures. I'm also co-founder of PepUp Tech, founder of Salesforce Saturday. I'm on the board for Maravis, and I'm a 6-time Salesforce MVP now. They renewed all of us because of 2020, so one nice thing about 2020. And, miss being in London and miss being with Lucy and Ben in person, but I'll take this virtually. I'm excited to be here, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steph. And Lucy, yourself.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Lucy, and I am the head editor of selves.ben.com. I'm also founder of The Drip, which is the marketing automation side of Salesforce Ben. And I co-lead the London user group for Pardot, and I'm also a marketing champion, a Salesforce marketing champion.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Question one. So 2020 has been a year to remember, and it's going to change the working world forever. So what do you think will change the most going forward? Let's start with Matt.
Yeah. Wow. So there was a post that was going around on LinkedIn back in May when things were starting to get really crazy. And I thought it was really insightful. And it was talking about how basically communication and leadership are going to change in a remote first world. And specifically, there's a lot less tolerance for BS, I think. When you're in a remote environment, your communication has to be more value dense. And so you're not just throwing a meeting on the calendar without a description. You're being very intentional about how you communicate with people and what people look for in leadership and in just trajectory, initiative, and vision looks a lot different. And I think that's a change for the better. And I don't think that just means we become computers and creatures of information. I do think small talk's still going to be there. You're still going to ask about the game, the kids, but it's going to be, you're going to have genuine conversations, and then you're going to genuinely get down to business. So that's, I think, going to be a big change going forward.
Yeah, I like that. Making things more efficient. That makes a lot of sense. And Steph, how about yourself? What do you think is going to change going forward?
I agree 100% with Matt. The way we work is going to be different, regardless of how you worked before. Some people were always in the office. Some people work remote. I had a hybrid where I worked pretty much remote for the last few years, but would go into the office begrudgingly. I really didn't want to go into the office, but now it's like I miss it a little bit, and I will probably be in the office more than I was before for somebody like myself. I miss that interaction. And I feel like also that this year has really had people question the kind of work that they do. I've seen so many people leave their current roles to go do something different. It's had them question if they're doing their life's work, what they really want to be doing with their lives. You see people showing up as their true, complete selves now, because we are basically working at home. So our work and our personal lives are blended and they become one. And so, people are questioning how they spend their days, who they spend their time with, whether it be work or in their personal lives. So I think going forward, we're going to be more intentional with the kind of work we do. And that because of what's going on with the world, I saw another article talking about the storm. We're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat, and how we are all getting through this. People want to make sure that the work that they're doing, their professional work, is meaningful, that it's making the world better. So I think everybody is looking at how they work and how they can change what they're doing to make a bigger impact on the world that we live in. So for me, that's been a big plus to see that kind of silver lining in this storm, to see that businesses and individuals want to do what they can in every part of their life to make the world a better place. And it starts with the work that you do.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. Yeah, I think I've never really thought that before, but I think it does. If we do move to kind of this more remote working, it enables people to do the exact kind of job they want to, because location doesn't really matter to some degree. So yeah, I hopefully that is a change for the better. And how about yourself, Lucy? Changes going forward?
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like a copycat, but to really echo Matt and Steph's thoughts here, I think, well, especially living in a city like London, and of course I miss things going on all the time, but I do feel like people were living their life at 100 miles per hour when it wasn't sustainable really for a lot of people to live at that speed. So I think changing for the better, or changes going forward, people will be a lot more taking time to reflect and being intentional with what they're doing. I think also this year there's been a lot of outdated ideas that have been swept out. So things like the old-fashioned notion of bums and seats. You have to be seen and physically at work in order to appear valued, or to appear like you're being productive. Whereas we know that's just not the case. And I think that's really validated across a lot of industries now, whereas before it would just be almost like a perk of working in tech or other forward-thinking industries. But I think that's across the board now. So I think that's one thing that's going to change.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think I had a conversation with you, Lucy, earlier in the year where I thought actually sales jobs probably would be in the office regardless. But I had a conversation with a sales manager the other day who said that his salespeople are a lot more efficient at home because there's no more distractions. So yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting one. We'll see if it carries on. Great, thank you very much, guys. So second question. So we definitely don't need to highlight any more of the negatives of this year. So let's hear what positives you have seen come out of 2020. Let's maybe start with Steph this time.
For me, the positive 2020 is connection. Lucy, I was one of those people that was going 100 miles an hour, and I was fine with it. I was happy to be going 100 miles an hour. And then when this hit, I hit a brick wall, and I hit it hard. And it made me realize that, I was going so fast. I lost connection with people that were important in my life, my family, my friends. I wasn't going deep in it. I was forced to connect. And I feel like we realize we don't need material things. Clothes don't matter. We spent most of our times in PJs and our homes, and that connection with the people that mattered the most, like who you work with, who you're living and loving and laughing with. That became very apparent during a time like this. Even though it was hard for me, and again, acceptance is my big word, but I realized how important those connections were when it comes down to basic human life. So for me, it was the acceptance and also appreciating. Like when we did that panel last year, Ben, at Salesforce London Tower, it was a great panel. We had great fun, but it was the stuff that happens before the panel and the stuff that happens after. Like we were sitting in a room with Gemma, and she was telling us her idea for the architect club, and you and I are looking at her business plan, and we're giving her feedback, and we're giving her suggestions. Like I missed that, and I didn't appreciate those kind of moments like I should have. So now going forward, it's like, I'm going to appreciate those moments even more. Like, I'm going to really be present and engaged in those moments. Because that the connection is the most important for me. So for me, the positives was the acceptance, learning to accept, learning that I do have to slow down, learning that it's important to reinvest in myself physically and mentally. I work out, like when I get stressed, I work out all the time. I've been running my stairs. I'm in the best shape I've been in a long time. So, those are some of the positives that I've seen, and just seeing people connect, seeing people really value the human relationships in their lives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, taking for granted all those kind of small moments is definitely something that I've seen as well. So Lucy, how about you? Positives of 2020?
Oh, I just love that, Steph, everything you said there. And I think those two words are just so important. And it's true.
You too. I miss seeing you two in person.
It is true. There's just things we took for granted before. And, it's like that classic thing. Things have to be taken away sometimes for us to realize what we had before, because it's all relative, right? So, I think the positive that I've seen this year is that people have made time to upskill. When a lot of business disruption was happening at the start of the year, businesses didn't know which way they wanted to move forward, decisions were being made. It freed up people actually to make time to upskill, like the projects were put on hold and things like that, and perhaps moving in a different direction, exploring something new. So this is one trend that we saw with on our blog, people also contributing a lot more writing and sharing their thoughts. So that's one positive that I've personally seen this year.
Yeah, definitely. When I was with my consultancy Empower at the start of the year, certs was a huge thing in the downtime, and less commuting time and things like that means that people have a lot more time to focus on extracurricular things like that. So yeah, definitely positive. And Matt, how about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Really love what Steph and Lucy have said. And Steph, you're talking about bringing your whole existence to work and all that you are as a person. I think that's been a big thing as well. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and now it's, if one of them comes in because they drew a picture and they want to show me, everyone on the phone call wants to see it too, and that's just like part of life together. And I think there's this idea of like seeing, if you're in a company, you're an organization, now that folks are remote first in a lot of places, you're seeing yourself as a digital community. And so the question is, how can you make that meaningful for everyone that's there? And so I think one of the knock-on effects of that is that it leveled the playing field for a lot of our remote employees. And so there are people in our company who I just love, and I love seeing them when they come into town. And all of a sudden in 2020, whether they're in Houston or the Bay Area, I've gotten a chance to see them a lot more. And it's led to a lot more collaboration. And I think it's led to people feeling like they have more of a seat at the table, where a lot of the time, structures are in place that you're kind of blind to, and you don't realize that there might be people that are being left out. And so I think that's been a great thing. It's made things a lot more inclusive, and it's made the digital community of an organization a lot more meaningful for the people involved.
Yeah, definitely. I keep thinking back to that. I don't know if you saw that YouTube video of on live BBC TV a couple of years ago, where a guy's journalist is speaking and the two kids walking, and at the time that was the most embarrassing thing ever. But now it would be fine.
Of 2020, yeah.
It'll be fine. Bring the kids in.
Humanizing, very humanizing. Like, I'm on the board for Futures, and our CEO, our American CEO, we're in it, and we're talking heavy topics. We're figuring out how we're gonna switch and be fluid. And then all of a sudden his little girl comes in and she just wraps her arms around him. She's like 5 and just hugs him, and his tone and everything just softens, and he melts and he holds her, and it's just like, it was a beautiful thing to witness. You get to really, it humanizes us now, and I think it's wonderful. You're right, Matt. That's a great part of this.
Yeah, I completely agree. It seems like a very old school thing to kind of have two selves. One is prim and proper, perfect, and the other one is I think that is a positive.
And I think also we've noticed it even in our industry, which has always been quite inclusive and bringing our authentic selves to work. But I think it's way more profound in a lot of other industries that were, like you're saying, very stiff upper lip, and that must have been such a massive change in some other industries. I guess we're just lucky that we've always been quite an authentic industry.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for those guys. There are some positives then out of a pretty dismal year. So it's been a pretty exciting year for Salesforce. A lot of things have gone in, trends and acquisitions, and I mean, digital transformation being accelerated at a crazy rate. So with everything going on at the moment, the acquisitions that Salesforce made in 2020, what are your predictions for Salesforce for 2021? Doesn't have to be around the acquisitions, but obviously they're a part of it. Who hasn't been first? Lucy.
Well, when I look at the Salesforce platform and I think, okay, what's going to be big in 2021? I think it was already big in 2020, but I see commerce being a big play. I think it's relatively untapped. I mean, certainly on our blog, it's relatively untapped. And just with this big surge in e-commerce generally, I mean, who could have predicted that huge surge where everyone is shopping online now? Outside of that, I think also there'll be a big play for collaboration. We saw Salesforce Anywhere come out this year, obviously the Slack acquisition. So it'll be interesting at Salesforce meetings as well. Quip being combined with Salesforce Anywhere. So I think there's all these moving parts, and it's just going to be interesting to see how those combine into a combined product offering. So yeah, I think that will be a big theme for 2021: commerce and collaboration.
Yeah, definitely. I think Salesforce has set a big precedent with Slack now, so they have to do something pretty amazing with it. Otherwise, we're going to be very disappointed. So let's see what happens. And Matt, how about yourself?
Yeah, this was a really fun question to think about. I think one thing that we saw a lot in 2020 was public sector growth. We've worked with a lot of public sector customers, and Salesforce acquiring Acumen, I think, shows some movement towards that. And you look at things like in the U.S., we had, like the PPP loan program, stuff like that, to deal with COVID-19. There's just more than ever need for digital transformation in the public sector. So it seems like Salesforce is moving that direction, and it also goes in parallel with, I think, a lot of the growth that they've put into Experience Cloud with communities. So many HR communities spun up in 2020 as companies and organizations are needing to interact and get key information out to their employees. And so I think you're going to see a lot more growth, at least in the Salesforce world, around Experience Cloud, communities, stuff like Salesforce Knowledge, hybrid CMS, where it's all about getting critical information to your employees, to your partners, in a way that feels uniquely you, that's branded, that's part of your company experience, part of your community experience. So things that go along with that. Mobile Publisher is a really fascinating product that is a big part of that. So public sector, Experience Cloud, those are some of the places that we're looking for some really interesting things and some big growth in 2021.
Yeah, I'm seeing similar things over here as well. Some people I've been speaking to inside of Salesforce, those teams seem to be growing a lot, and there seems to be, I've heard of some very cool projects going in government in the UK as well. So yeah, definitely agree with that. And Steph, how about yourself?
To support what both Lucy and Matt said, I think what we're going to need next year is the demand for talent is going to be even greater. We were already had such a demand for talent before COVID. There was this great meme that went around: who was in charge of your digital transformation, your CTO or COVID? And for most companies, it was and they were forced to make a digital transformation. And now they need people who can do it. And Salesforce, especially with the Slack acquisition, people who didn't really know what Salesforce was before all knew what Slack was. And I kind of equate it like this: Slack is a gateway drug to Salesforce, is what they've done. And now we're going to have even more people on the Salesforce platform, and there's just not enough people to do the roles. And our Salesforce ecosystem, everybody is going to have to step up to skill up all the talent that we're bringing in: Maravis, Pep Up Tech, Salesforce Saturday, the architect club, Rad Women Who Code. We're skilling people up, but enough people they aren't getting into those first jobs, and they're not entry-level people. These are people who have business acumen, who have the skills that are needed to help with these digital transformations. So we need to make space for them. That's the reason I came to Computer Futures. I could see that before. Is like, we need to be talking with the hiring managers. We need to be getting the talent in, but the demand is going to be even greater. And honestly, I'm a little stressed about it, because we already had a shortage before, and the shortage is going to be even greater. And it's just like, everybody's digital now, and we've got to have people who know what they're doing. So for me, it's the demand. You're going to see a bigger need for talent, and more roles not getting filled, and people getting stressed because they don't have anybody who, basically, I equate Salesforce to like a Ferrari. You got this powerful machine, and you've got kids operating it, and because there's just not enough people who actually know how to drive the car. So we need to skill people up, and the ecosystem needs to make space for them and get them into the roles.
Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing an increasing number of people now coming from other industries, skilled individuals who have a lot of experience in transformation products, project management, coming over to Salesforce, which is great, enabled by Trailhead and a lot of good organizations that you mentioned as well. And I think that's quite a nice segue onto a question that I was going to ask you, Steph. So a question that I get quite a lot, and I think it's an interesting view that some people have, that they think, while Salesforce does have a huge demand, some roles people feel are getting quite saturated. So the admin role, for example, some people take the view, and I suppose I do somewhat as well, that there are more people than, say, 5 years ago, and relatively to the amount of positions out there. So what would you say to people that really want to stand out from the crowd, and these roles that are going to get the companies that are going to need to hire for these roles going for their digital transformation, what makes an individual stand out amongst the crowd in Salesforce?
They need to level up, like Lucy mentioned earlier about how people are skilling up and leveling up. They really have to step up. You can't just be a doer anymore. Admins need to be learning how to be developers, how to become solution architects, technical architects. As more companies are purchasing Salesforce and it's driving the whole business, we need people who are actually owning the instance. They have to become managers, senior managers, directors. You know how many times I get reached out, we need a director, and there's not people who can do it. There aren't people who are skilling themselves up to be in those roles. Like for me, whenever I was an admin, my manager took me to all his meetings. So I sat in all his meetings, and I learned how he interacted with stakeholders. As an admin, you need to be talking to your managers and saying, I just want to shadow. I want to be in the meetings with you so I can learn how to talk to stakeholders. I can learn how to problem solve. I can learn what the business needs and how you're solving it. You've got to take the initiative. We've also got to have the admins hiring the entry-level people, bringing them in, creating space. If you have been in the Salesforce ecosystem for more than 2 years and you don't have an entry-level admin or an entry-level developer on your team that you're not skilling up, shame on you, because you're not giving back to the ecosystem. You have a responsibility to do that. And also, at that point, you're more senior, you're more experienced. The business has hired you to be proactive, to be problem solving. They didn't hire you to be in the weeds, creating fields, creating reports, doing the stuff that an entry-level person should be paid to do. They're paying you too much to do that. So you need to be creating these teams. And when you do that, you're learning management skills, you're learning leadership skills when you're training other people so that you can eventually own the instance. And when you own the instance, you drive the roadmap, you drive the decisions. We have too many Salesforce instances that are owned by people who don't even know how Salesforce works. Half the time I would work for people that didn't know how Salesforce worked. My last 4 instances, I owned it. I knew how Salesforce worked. And then that meant I made the hiring decisions. So once you own the instance, you make the hiring decisions and you drive it, and your customers, your end users are going to have the best experience because you actually know what you're doing. You're removing the middleman from the whole process. So that's what our community needs to be doing. They need to be leveling up. You're leaving money on the table. It's not, you already have the skills. I call it the Karate Kid method. You have the skills, you just don't know it. And you can be making more money, and you can be making the hiring decisions, and you can be bringing the new talent into the ecosystem a lot faster because you know what needs to be done. You know what the role is. Again, too many people owning the instance that don't know what the role is, and that is big stopgap, a big block for our ecosystem. And again, it stresses me out. We need more people owning instances, and it's not hard. We've got community sleep. Salesforce Saturdays are everywhere. That's what we're for. We're here to skill you up, not only on Trailhead, not only doing the technical, but on how to manage your career, how to be a manager, how to lead, how to have those tough decisions. I've had to go to the CEO and push for budget to grow my team. We've done it. We can show you how to do it, but you have to get engaged. You have to level up.
Yeah, level up and own your org. Yeah. I love that. Great. And then Matt, from someone that's involved in the Salesforce ecosystem in the UI UX space heavily because of your role with Skuid, what kind of trends are you currently seeing at the moment in 2020 and going forward in the UX UI space on Salesforce?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what Steph was saying about getting out of the weeds and not just creating fields anymore. You're not just managing users and permissions. That is something that I think ties very closely with the demands for user experience in the Salesforce ecosystem. What I think you see is an appetite for better user experiences leaking into those digital transformation initiatives. And so when you look outside of the enterprise space into the low code, no code world, look at the big names. It's Webflow, it's Bubble, it's Figma, helping people create these beautiful designs and create these front-end experiences. That's what the workforce is used to. When you hire someone who comes in to use the sales app that you've built, they've spent years training on Facebook, on Spotify, on what they think that an app should feel like. And they want their internal apps to be the same. And if you're building a community or a portal, you can bet that that's the level that you're being held to, the standard that you're being held to. So that kind of appetite for those kinds of experiences, also content-driven and storytelling-driven experiences. You look at what Salesforce has been doing with in-app guidance and making it so easy for new users to get up to speed. That's the point. It's like you don't want to have to schedule day-long training sessions to help your users use the app that you're giving them, especially if you're giving them a partner community or something like that. So building content that's flavorful, that's compelling stories, building those into those experiences, even internal apps, is something that I think is going to be huge for user experience in the coming year. So there's a lot more with personalization. Personal connections. Connection keeps coming up. I think that's where Slack comes into play. But those are some of the things that I think that are really important for user experience, which is a lot more than just looking good. That's the kind of stuff that we're thinking about in 2021.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such an important point as well, that people's expectations are so high because they're so used to using so many apps, and business apps shouldn't be any different. So yeah, definitely agree with that. And Lucy, so your expertise is obviously in marketing automation. So what is the next big thing in marketing automation?
Right. So when we talk about marketing automation, I guess we could break it down either by the products, so Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Pardot, because there's lots of things happening in both of those spaces, or just marketing automation in general. So I'll start with Marketing Cloud. As Steph was saying, there's a shortage of skills, massive shortage, but also of the right skills. And especially what I predict and what I see already is a big shortage in Marketing Cloud expertise. People experienced almost like in a consulting role that know how to implement Marketing Cloud best practice, how to extend it. So yeah, I see that. And obviously that ties into the whole commerce, people needing to reach consumers at scale in a more intelligent way, digitally as well. So that's, I guess, prediction number one. Prediction number two is around interactive email. I see this being a big play coming forward in next year with Pardot as well as Marketing Cloud. They've already got interactive email. And I think this is just going to be the main channel one of the main channels that people are going to continue communicating with customers. And then third, in general, I think conversational marketing is not even, scratch the surface really. So this is things like chatbots for lead generation. I think that's just going to be something that's going to engage people on websites a lot more. And yeah, from what I've seen, has not been leveraged enough.
Yeah, Very cool. Thank you very much, Lucy. So just a few questions that I've seen come through while you guys have been speaking. So number one is for Lucy. What is the best way to become a Salesforce champion like yourself?
Well, I think with the Salesforce champion, we have to say each quarter what we've done to contribute to the community, which there's a number of ways that we do that. So that could be running a user group, it could be contributing to a blog, doing social media outreach, inspiring people. So if you're already doing some of those things that we have to do to keep our champion status, then I guess you're on your way to doing that. And then you can, the new round of champion applications has just been announced, so you can just Google it and apply. Also, there's just a new different categories of champions now, different from last year. So may find something, one of those product areas really ticks the boxes for you.
And we've actually just released a fantastic blog post on that. So head over to selves.ben.com and check it out. Plug. And I realize we're at time, so I'll just ask Steph this question real quick before we announce the winner of the Bose headphones. So Steph, what are your thoughts on the Salesforce business analyst role?
What are my thoughts? It's necessary. Yeah. I don't understand what my thoughts on it. It's necessary. They're the glue, basically. They're the connection. We were talking about connection earlier. You know, the business analysts, you're working with the stakeholders and then taking in that information to those who are typically in this, again, in a bigger enterprise environment, taking that information to the doers to build the solutions. Now, sometimes in the smaller teams, you're doing all of it. You're the admin, you're analyst, you're the PM, you're wearing all the many hats. But that is another, especially those of you who are really good with communication, and especially in our digital world, that is another role that is going to be in demand. And it's also an easy way to transition into the Salesforce ecosystem. So definitely, if you have that analyst background, hype that up on LinkedIn. Make sure you are pointing that out. That is where the soft skills that are so hard to cultivate on a team that you need to come armed with when you join a team. The analysts, they have that naturally. Typically, if you're a good business analyst, you should. But absolutely, a very important role.
Yeah, I suppose maybe the question where it came from was that, it's not, an official role, there's not an official cert, or I'm not too sure if there's a trailhead path, but as Steph said, yeah, extremely important role in a lot of businesses, and Salesforce consultancies as well. Business analysts are very much needed. So yeah, thank you very much for that question. So we are out of time now. So I'm going to ask one more question to our panelists, quickfire question. What Salesforce event have you most missed in 2020, Matt?
Well, I mean, come on, I get to go first, so it's Dreamforce.
But if it's all Dreamforce, it's fine.
Yeah, I miss the energy. I miss seeing what's coming. I miss the lasers. Yeah, that's something that I'll look forward to being in person for next year. Great. Lucy?
Dreamforce. Like, with no hesitation, absolutely Dreamforce. Just the random conversations, and also meeting, because obviously being based in the UK, we don't get to meet our American counterparts very often. So I take full advantage of Dreamforce to do that. So looking forward to Dreamforce 2021, fingers crossed.
Yeah, this is a silly question, wasn't it? And Steph?
Yeah, absolutely Dreamforce. I miss seeing all my people. And this is the first Dreamforce where I wasn't involved in the keynote in somehow, so I'm a little salty. We had the Salesforce Saturday panel last year, the events, all the things that the people you interact with, and then the opportunities that are there that, I'm meeting with people and making things happen for Maribus, Pep Up Tech, Salesforce Saturday, for all my communities. And that, miss that. Again, you don't appreciate it. You just take it for granted and think it's going to be there every year, and then it's taken away and it's like, oh no. But absolutely Dreamforce. But I do also, really close second is the dreaming events on the other side of the pond. Amsterdam Amsterdam, You're Dreaming, coming down and doing Inspire East in Cambridge. I miss those too. I miss being able to be over there with everybody on that side of the pond. I mean, we got a bigger audience, but I miss that connection and hanging out with everybody, without a doubt.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, Dreamforce is the the king, but yeah, of course, a lot of smaller community events that also are sorely missed. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending our live stream event, and thank you very much to our panelists for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you here. So I am delighted to announce that Stan Hodges has won our Bose headphones, wireless noise cancelling, all the whole works. So enjoy those for Christmas. Someone will be in touch with you after this event. So that is it. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy holidays, and we will see you all in the new year.
Yes, happy holidays, everybody. Thanks.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.